A programming is the process of instructing a computer to carry out a particular task. So syntax refers to the rules, the grammars of programming language. So every programming language will have a basic syntax. Object-oriented programming is defined as a programming paradigm built on the concept of object. Hello everyone, welcome to the next session of problem solving using C++. I am Sanjana, faculty of BCA department, Vidhyaashram, First Grade College, Temple of Excellence, Mysuru. The agenda of this session are Introduction to Programming, Program Development Lifecycle, Procedure-Oriented Programming, Object-Oriented Programming, Basic Concept of OOP, Benefit of OOP and Application of OOP. So this is the agenda of this session. We are starting with the Unit 1, Introduction to Programming. So what is programming? Why we are learning? What is the C++? Is it a programming language? Well, a programming is the process of instructing a computer to carry out a particular task. The programming is a set of instructions that we give to the computer, a machine, to do a specific task. This programming will have different languages. The languages like the Python, Java, JavaScript, C++ and many more. Right now we are learning about C++ programming language. Next, in programming we are having the algorithms. So what is this algorithm? These are the step-by-step procedure or the formulas for solving problems. They form the logic behind the code. So algorithms are the step-by-step procedures that gives you the logic behind the code. After that, we are having the data structure. So everything is structurized. So a way to organize and store the data efficiently. It includes array, list, stacks and trees. So data structure is a way of organizing the data, mainly in a structured way of storing the data. Next, we are having the main part of the programming, that is syntax. So syntax refers to the rules, the grammars of programming language. So every programming language will have a basic syntax to do the programming. Next, we are having the variables. So variables are named containers that are like containers that are used to store the data. So variables are like containers where we will store the data. Next, we are having data types. There are different types of data that are available in programming language. Different types of data like numbers, text, boolean values, char, string. There are different way of data types that are available. After that, we are having operators. So operators are the symbol that are used to perform the operation on the data. So operators means that are a special symbol like plus, minus, asterisk, divide. So these are the special symbols that we gonna use in the programming language. Next, we are having control flow. Determines the order in which the code is executed. It is a flow of the program. It is the flow of the program that what we have written, a flow of the code. So this mainly determines in the order which the code is executed. Next, we are having functions. Functions are the reusable blocks of code that perform specific tasks. These are the block of code that we can reuse. So these are the things that are main about programming. So what is programming? What are all the things, the basic things that are there in the programming? The next thing is program development cycle. For everything, there is a beginning and the end. In the same way, there is a beginning and the end for the program or the problem. So now you can see the first thing is the problem definition. Next, problem analysis, algorithm development, coding and documentation, testing and debugging, and maintenance. So this is the program development life cycle. So what are all these things? Well, the problem definition. So to understand what is problem definition, we should make sure the understanding of the given problem. Understanding the problem to be solved, gathering requirements and defining the project scope. So in problem definition, we mainly understand what is the given problem. For an example, now we have given a problem to add the addition of two numbers. So what is the problem? We have to add the two numbers. So we should make sure what is the problem here. What is the problem definition? So we should make sure gathering the requirements. What is required for addition of the two numbers? We required two variables or three variables. What are the requirements required? Next, problem analysis. Breaking down the problem into small parts and analyzing their requirements and relationship. So again, addition of two numbers can be done in different ways. We can do directly, we can use the function, we can use the class and objects. So we should make an analysis. Which one is easier? Which takes the less time? So we have the problem analysis, analyzing the what problem that are given, gathering the information. After that, we are having algorithm development, creating step-by-step instruction for the software to follow. Next, we have to create an algorithm. It's like a pseudocode. The algorithm, we create a step-by-step procedure to solve the given problem. So again, example of two numbers. We have to write this step-by-step, the way of solving the problem. After that, coding and documentation. Writing the software code and documenting it for the future reference. After developing the algorithm, we are having the coding, the main part that what we are learning. Coding the problem that are given. So we will code and document that into the future reference. Next, testing and debugging. Finding and fixing error in the software. There are different methods for testing, unit testing, system testing, integration testing. Like there are different testing and debugging methods mainly. So we will be using those things to find and fixing the error in the software, error in the code. After that, we are having maintenance. The last, which we will always forget, maintenance. Updating the software after its release to keep it working well and meeting user needs. So the last, maintenance, make sure that we are updating. We are make sure the software that what we are used is updated. If you want to change the things, make sure the software is updated. So updating the software after it release to keep it working well. So this is about the program development life cycle. We have seen from the problem definition up to the maintenance how a problem can be solved, how a problem is solved in a structured, in a life cycle way. After that, we are having introduction to procedure-oriented programming and object-oriented programming. So what is this procedure-oriented programming? That is POP and object-oriented programming, OOP. So first, let us see what these two are. These two, the POP and OOP, are the two fundamental paradigms in software development. So these two are the fundamental paradigms. Each paradigm offers distinct methodologies for designing and organizing code addressing different types of programming problems. So these main two are the fundamental paradigms that are available in the programming language. The first one is procedure-oriented programming. Procedure-oriented programming is a programming paradigm that emphasizes the sequence of operation or a procedure that manipulate the data. So mainly, as the name says, it is procedure-oriented programming. This mainly focuses on the procedure. Mainly focus on the procedure, the functions, how it works rather than the data. So this is a top-down approach. The programs are divided into procedure called functions. The programs what we have given is divided into the procedure. procedure. Example, the C language and Pascal language. So, this is the pictorial representation of the procedure-oriented programming. The main program here is divided into sub. Function 1, function 2, function 3. Again, it is subdivided. So, the procedures are divided into functions. For example, the real world example, cooking. So, cooking is a procedure way. There is a sequence to do cooking, to do a recipe. First, we need a light, we need a fire, right? So, in that way, after that, we are having ingredients. So, we need fire, light, after that we need ingredients, after that we need a procedure. There is a sequence of procedure. There is a sequence of procedure for cooking. So, cooking can be taken example, the real world example for the procedure-oriented programming, where we will have a sub-procedure, sub-functions. The next, we are having the object-oriented programming. So, C++ is a object-oriented programming. So, what is this object-oriented programming? Object-oriented programming is defined as a programming paradigm built on the concept of object. So, this mainly built on the concept called objects. That is a set of data contained in fields and code indicating procedures instead of the usual logic-based system. So, the object-oriented programming mainly focuses on the data. It mainly focuses on the data what we have given rather than the logic. So, that's why it is very easy to do the coding. So, object-oriented programming mainly focuses on object and their relationship rather than just the logic, as I said earlier. So, the best use cases we can say the large complex software projected like mobile apps, industrial program and simulation software. Next, what is the advantage? The advantage of the object-oriented programming, the efficient, scalable and allows for the code reuse. So, mainly the main advantage of the object-oriented programming is the reuse of the code, where the POP, the reuse of the code was not possible. After that, we are having the key ideas. So, here the key ideas, identifying group of object, that is class and their associated methods. So, mainly the object-oriented will be having data members and member function. After that, we are having the data modeling. So, in data modeling, the process of identifying object and their relationship. So, the data modeling, we will have to identify what is object, what is its relationship. The example, a person object might have the properties like name and address. So, the best example here, we have taken a person as an object having properties like name and address. So, this is about the object-oriented programming. So, the object-oriented programming and the POP, that is the procedure-oriented programming. The main difference is the reusability. The OOPS will give you the reuse of the code, whereas the POP mainly focus on the procedure. So, this OOPS will have a basic concept, right? The mainly are classes, object, encapsulation, abstraction, polymorphism, inheritance, dynamic binding and message passing. So, these 8 mainly the basic concept of OOPS. So, what are these things? Let us see. Class. So, what do you mean by class? What is this object? Well, a class is a blueprint or a template for creating the object with similar properties and behaviors. For example, let me take a car. A car is a class. Okay. What is object? An object is the instance of the class representing specific entity with their own values for the class properties. So, now I am having a class of car. So, this car will have the properties and behavior. This class car will have the properties and behavior. So, the properties are nothing but the data members. And the behavior or the member function. So, considering a class of a car, we are having the properties and behavior which are the data members and member function of the class called car. So, now we are having object called student, and the student having the data name, date of birth, marks, the function total, average, display. So, here the data can be the state and this can be the behavior of the object. So, a class and object. A class is a blueprint and an object is the instance of the class. So, now how to create this class and object? For example, there is a syntax to create classes and object. I will take a class, a keyword, and I have taken the example like car. So, now I have taken class and the class name called car. So, here we will have the data members and member function. A class will always ends with a semicolon. So, this is an example to create the class. A class keyword and a class name. And here we will be having data members and member function. For this, we also have to create the object. So, how to create an object? We will be taking the class name that we have given car. Car, the class name what I have taken and the object name what I am gonna give. So, car 1. So, now I have created an object for the class named car as the car 1. Okay. So, this way we will create a class and an object. Mainly, we will be using this for the data encapsulation. Okay. Now, I have the object called car 1 and a class called car. So, now we have seen the example to create a class car and an object to create the car, the object of the car. The one thing what we should remember is, for creating a class, we are just specified. When we create an object, here we have created the object. When we create an object to the class, at that time the memory allocation takes place. So, when we create the object, the memory allocation takes place. Just here we are specifying the class. When we create the object, the memory allocation takes place. We can create n number of objects to the classes. There is no limit that we should create 10 objects or 1 objects. We can create the different types of objects. Next, we are having the encapsulation. So, encapsulation, the bundling of the data, that is the properties and the methods, behavior into single unit. Encapsulation. Encapsulation means we are binding the data and the function into single unit. Here we will bind. Binding means wrapping. So, why this is? Because to make sure that the code and the function are available within the class, that cannot be accessed outside the class. So, we will be using the encapsulation. After that, we are having abstraction. So, next we are having abstraction. Abstraction means mainly focusing on the essential features of an object while hiding unnecessary details. So, here we are looking at the screen. So, what we are looking? The PPT, what it is. But we don't know how it is working behind. So, this is called as the abstraction. Mainly, making sure hiding the information from the user, the behind working information from the user. So this is called as the abstraction. Next, polymorphism. So the polymorphism is the ability of the object to take on the different forms or behavior based on their type. So polymorphism. So this mainly comes from the Greek word polymorphism. Poly means many, morphism means forms, many forms. So this mainly have the advantage or the ability of the object to take on the different forms. After that, we are having inheritance. Inheriting. So the example like a child inheriting the properties from his parents. In the same way, in the computer language, in the mainly the programming language, we are having a concept called inheritance. So inheritance, the ability of the class of the base class and the derived class. So the ability of the derived class to inherit the properties from the base class. Inheriting the properties from one class to another class is called the inheritance. After that, dynamic binding. The process of determining which method to call at runtime based on the object type. So dynamic binding mainly focus on the process to determine which method to be called at the execution time. After that, we are having the message passing. The message passing is the way objects interact by sending the message to each other, invoking the methods. So message passing is where the messages is passed between the objects that we are creating. So this is the basic concept of OOPS. Next, we are having the benefits of OOPS. The OOPS makes building software easier and more efficient in several ways. So OOPS helps in different ways to build a software. So what is the benefit of this? The first and foremost, the benefit of OOPS are the code reuse. Code reusability. The most important benefit of OOPS is the code reusability. We can inherit existing code from parent class, saving time and effort. So we can inherit the existing code. We can reuse the existing code. Modular design. Programs are built from reusable building blocks that communicate together. So modular design is also one of the benefits of OOPS. After that, we are having security. Data hiding keeps sensitive information safe from unauthorized access. The basic concept, what we have seen, the abstraction, the data hiding, helps the user to have the sensitive information safe from the unauthorized access. After that, multiple object. We can create as many copies of the object for the multiple users without conflicts. As I said earlier, we can create a number of objects to use in the code. Next, organized work. Projects can be broken down into manageable tasks based on the objects. So, the organized way of handling the projects can be done using the OOPS concept. After that, the scalability. So, small OOPS system can be easily expanded into larger ones. So, it can be expanded. After that, we are having simpler communication. Objects use messages to interact with each other. The object will use the message to interact with each other. That is the message passing, making code cleaner. Next, manageable complexity. OOPS help handle complex software without getting overwhelmed. So this helps to manage the complex system easily. Next, we are having application of OOPS. So the application of OOPS, real-time system. The OOPS can be seen in real-time system. For example, ticket booking in the airport or in the railway system. We are using the real-time system. There we will be using the OOPS concept. After that, simulation and modeling. Next, object-oriented databases. We are using the OOPS in the object-oriented database. Next, hypertext, hypermedia and expert text. So, we will be using the OOPS concept in hypermedia, hypertext. Next, in the AI and the expert system. OOPS is also used in the AI, that is the artificial intelligence, and also the expert system. Next, neural networks and parallel programming. OOPS also used in neural networks. What we are seeing in the neural networks, the OOPS concept is also used. What are all the complex system, what we hear, what we heard, the OOPS concept is always used there. And next, where it is used is the decision support and the office automation system. Office automation system and also the decision support system. In that system also the OOPS concept, the object concept is used. Next, CAM, CAM, CAD system. The computer aided manufacturing, the computer aided design system also use the OOPS concept for manufacturing of the products. So, these are the applications where the concept of OOPS are used. So, now we have learned what are all the things, the agenda of this session. Mainly the application, the benefit, the basic concept of OOPS, what is class and object, encapsulation, and the introduction to the programming language and introduction to the procedure oriented and object oriented programming. Thank you.